I'm Mike Wallace. This is Biography. Our story, Adolf Hitler. When Adolf Hitler threatened to unleash the Second World War, great nations shuddered. They feared that civilization itself would be destroyed. But one of Hitler's top admirals knew better. He said on the eve of the war, "This means only the end of Germany." And he could have added, "This means the end of Adolf Hitler too." This is the story of how Adolf Hitler raced to his own destruction. His name is Adolf Hitler, and this is his biography. The Nazi blitzkrieg smashes through Poland. Before this, Adolf Hitler has used threats, blackmail, and phony promises of peace to take over Austria and Czechoslovakia. Now, he tells his generals, further successes can no longer be attained without the shedding of blood. Hitler meets with his high command after the swift fall of Poland. He says, "No one has ever achieved what I have achieved. The fate of the Reich depends only on me." He commands that the German armies march across Europe. France and Great Britain, he says, will be conquered. But Denmark, Norway, and Holland must come first. Hitler now unleashes devastating mechanized warfare upon them. And the three little nations are overwhelmed in the early spring of 1940. Then the Nazi panzer divisions push into Belgium, where they are challenged for the first time by French and British troops. The war is now engulfing all of Europe as the Allied armies wither under the German attack. Over 300,000 French and British troops retreat until they're trapped on the beach at Dunkirk, their backs to the English Channel. Hermann Goering, chief of the Luftwaffe, wants the glory of annihilating the surrounded troops at Dunkirk. He asks Hitler for permission, and he gets it. However, fails in its job. Despite merciless bombing, the enemy is able to escape by sea. But France, riddled with defeatism, surrenders almost as quickly as Poland and Norway. This is springtime in Paris in 1940. Hitler humiliates the French, forces them to sign an armistice in the same railway car in which Germany had surrendered after the First World War. This scene was witnessed personally by a correspondent, William L. Shirer. Hitler's face, he writes, is afire with scorn, anger, hate, revenge, and triumph. Hitler calls this the greatest and finest moment of my life. Hitler again turns to his Luftwaffe, orders his Air Force to bring Great Britain to her knees. Long months, the tiny island, fighting alone, reels under the Nazi blitz. But then the tide turns in the Battle of Britain. The outnumbered Royal Air Force challenges the mighty Luftwaffe, and the Nazis suffer staggering losses. Saves Britain. Winston Churchill says, never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few. Hitler is stunned by this reversal. He is accustomed to quick victories. He decides the conquest of Great Britain can wait. Instead, he will turn to the east. He will break his non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union and invade Russia with what he calls unprecedented, unmerciful, and unrelenting harshness. The world, declares Hitler, will hold its breath. His German armies slash through the Soviet Union, surge toward Moscow and Leningrad. This year, boasts Field Marshal Goering, between 20 and 30 million persons will die of hunger in Russia. Perhaps it is well that it is so, for certain nations must be decimated. This is Berchtesgaden, a mountain retreat in the Bavarian Alps, where Adolf Hitler escapes the savagery of war and spends tranquil interludes with his mistress, Eva Braun. She had been a shop girl when Hitler met her during his early rise to power. Few people in Germany know anything about her, for Hitler hides her from the public. When Hitler is away, she divides her time between her two main interests, popular novels and physical culture. Hitler has a peculiar relationship with Eva. He boasts to her of other romantic conquests. He forbids her to dance or sing in his presence. He drives her to attempt suicide twice. An ardent movie fan, Eva has a crush on the American actor Robert Taylor. She possesses what one observer calls a bird-like mind. And this does not displease Hitler, for he has told a friend, the greater the man, the more insignificant the woman. Adolf Hitler fancies himself a music lover. His favorite popular song, which he frequently orders his butler to sing for him at Berchtesgaden, is Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf? Hitler and Eva are sometimes joined here by Eva's parents and by her sister Gretel. Years before, Eva's father, a school teacher, had objected to her relationship with Hitler. Eva is such a nice, sweet girl, he complained. Why did she go off and hand herself to that ogre? But now, as Hitler's armies overrun Europe, Herr Braun enjoys the Führer's hospitality. The battle on the Russian front permits the Fuhrer little time for the pleasures of Berchtesgaden. The Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, and this news staggers Hitler. He had hoped to keep the powerful United States out of the war for at least another year. Now Hitler has no choice. He declares war on the United States. The German nation, he says, wants only its rights, and we will secure for ourselves this right to live, even if thousands of Churchills and Roosevelts conspire against us. The conqueror who ordered his Luftwaffe to slaughter defenseless civilians must now face the combined might of Great Britain, the Soviet Union, and the United States. And Adolf Hitler begins to understand that he is fighting for his life.
Die Jugend ist uns verschrieben und verfallen mit Leibigkeit.
Adolf Hitler is fighting on two fronts, in the Soviet Union and in North Africa. The pressures of war have begun to take their toll. His hair is turning gray. He tells his friend Goebbels that he suffers attacks of giddiness. Hitler is worried about the North African campaign. General Rommel's Africa Corps had been scoring brilliant victories, but now the Desert Fox is in trouble. He's running short on weapons and supplies. And Hitler, in a fatal blunder, refuses to send more. Rommel wants to retreat, but Hitler issues an order. You can show your troops, he says, no other way than that which leads to victory or to death.